JJ? What? What's your password? No,
if you tell him the password's going out on a podcast episode.
Yeah, don't tell him.
You should just bleep it.
You don't need to be on your PS Vita during this.
We're not doing anything.
Yeah, we are literally starting
this
recording.
I am looking at
an unbranded video game apparatus.
Oh, excuse.
You know, I mean, I was going to use the last recording as our cold open, but now this is it.
Oh, I like the other one better.
This one's better.
Oh,
you're better.
I like Stitch being berated. That's my favorite thing. So
that's what everyone loves to do.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
It's rewarding.
Just beating down a little guy.
Yep. Phrasing.
Beating off.
What?
Wow.
Is that what you meant?
No, well, that's what you just said.
I mean,
and
beating
the music
down.
Fades
That's
in,
not a.
And the music fades in.
Hey JJ, you're gonna need a new couch.
I'm just gonna sit quietly. But do theme music. All right.
Ready for Gene not to have hit record over any of this?
I have.
Better
JJ,
make
how
sure
much,
it's backed
Did
up.
you save your progress?
No, I don't do that.
Progress first.
I don't do that. But more importantly, JJ, how much disk space do you have?
What?
Last time we almost lost the whole podcast because I didn't clear out any disk space.
How do you use that much?
It's not that I use that much. I think it was saying
We just had
The
very
project
little.
uses a lot.
Oh,
I thought you were
I mean, it
saying.
doesn't use 10 gigabytes, but it uses a gigabyte or two.
I
probably.
thought you were saving it to your SSD accidentally,
I was saving it to my C drive.
which is tiny.
Use that much?
I'm just checking. You got more than like a few gigs, right?
Yeah, you should have like 100 or so.
Perfect.
Perfect.
But the quality is really high, so we don't know.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Like, how are you using that much?
We're recording an uncompressed
Well,
FLAC.
I'm not using that much on your computer.
Yeah, it was on his.
I only
home
had like
computer.
a gig left, and I didn't clear anything out. And when you're recording, it's just writing to the disk.
Oh, I thought you meant. Okay.
Too bad it doesn't just write to RAM, and then it just
Just explodes at the first photon. A little cosmic ray hits your RAM and fries the whole project.
That'd be pretty good.
Would it?
I think we've confused and concerned JJ.
Maybe the opposite of that. All right, let's get back on topic.
Well, topic.
I don't know.
We have to
Stitch
talk-
wants to
What
be here all
topic?
night.
What's this podcast about?
Yeah, let's be here all night. Let's put up some more sound deadening equipment while we're at it.
Don't tempt me.
Stop it, Stitch. You're holding us up. What?
He's getting bright red.
I think I broke him.
You should put your mic in front of him.
I don't even know why it's funny. Why is he laughing so hard?
Y'all fuck it up! You need to pull it together. We got a podcast to record. Stitch is gonna die.
The Fool's Lantern, Episode 4, Flanderization.
Howdy, y'all! You're listening to the Fool's Lantern Podcast, where we discuss current and classic TV and force ourselves to watch the shows we hate. Today, we'll be talking about episode 6. Excuse me.
Start over. Just kidding.
Can we pull together? Gene?
I broke the
do
rhythm.
it.
I'm just going to start over.
No,
I'm going to stay quiet this time.
Oh, you can say stuff.
Pull together, Gene.
Howdy, y'all! I wasn't even loud enough.
What do you mean?
Howdy, y'all! Welcome back to the Fool's Lantern Podcast, where we discuss current and classic TV and force ourselves to watch the shows we hate. Today we'll be talking about episodes 7 and 8 of Fargo, discussing Flanderization and more. I'm here with my co-hosts,
Hi, I'm Tank.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Shanna.
and obviously I'm Mark.
Hey.
I mean, I don't know if that's obvious, really. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, who?
But, I mean,
I'm Mark.
I don't think you'd said your name yet, so
Why not?
no one knows.
Mark is a
I'm
pretty
the
obvious
mystery
name.
host.
You could have been Pablo Escobar.
That's true.
Isn't he dead?
Who knows?
That's what he wants us to
There's a
think.
book called Killing Pablo about him. So I assume so.
You can check us out on Twitter at Fool's Lantern and email us at foolslanternpodcast
Puffcast.
at gmail.com. Please subscribe to and rate us on iTunes. And finally, you can find all of our episodes and more on ifngaming.net. So what have you all been watching?
I have been watching, and I know you have too, Mark, The Jinx.
Wow. Yeah.
This is a good show.
This is a
I
fantastic
highly
show.
recommend
I've
it.
heard like 97 people mention it this week.
Yeah, I started actually watching it because Kumail Nanjiani, is that?
Kumail.
Yeah, he was like nonstop tweeting about it, and so I started watching it. It's about Robert Durst, this eccentric millionaire, and the murders and disappearances and crazy stuff that follows him.
Part of the reason why it's being talked about right now is because after the final episode came out, he was actually arrested for some of the revelations in that episode.
Whew, it was a good last episode.
Interesting.
I don't want to spoil it, but it was pretty
I
fantastic.
wonder if they could make a cut narrated by Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, I'm sure he would do it. He
Who is-
seems to be a fan.
He should do
Who
a
is
commentary
this?
track.
Neil Kund-
You don't know Kumail? Anyway.
I mean, if I saw him, maybe.
He's a comedian. He's in Silicon Valley. He's in. He's been in Portlandia a bunch.
So I don't watch much Portlandia, and I've
He
only
plays
seen-
a birthday loan officer in
He does.
Portlandia.
That's a
he
good
does.
role. I like that. Anywho, so that's one of the shows I've been watching. I've also been watching Orange is the New Black, and I don't know why I have not started watching this show sooner. It's incredible. So I've like binge watched the first season. I'm a couple episodes into the second season, and it's funny. It's got heart, and I love that casting. It's amazing. It really grounds the show, and you believe that these women are prisoners. I'll just say one more, continuing to watch Last Man on Earth. Now, I don't think the episodes are as good as they used to be. Like, I thought the first episode was amazing.
Yeah.
Now I'm not on his side anymore, and he's just become
I think I
entirely
kinda-
annoying.
I might have talked you out of liking it a little bit.
Yeah, I like it, but like the plot is just basically he.
It's kind of devolved.
I don't know.
The first episode was about how hard it would be to be alone on planet Earth by yourself.
Right.
Then he meets another woman
They
who
get
turns out to be really
married,
annoying.
yeah.
They get married. And then he meets another woman that he didn't know was out there.
And now he's like,
Is she less
"Damn."
annoying than the first one?
She's less annoying, and he wants
And
to get with
super
her,
hot.
but she's not interested, and he's not taking no for an answer.
Yeah, it's
So it's
the
been, like,
not
3
taking no
episodes.
for an answer part that bothers me. I'm like, ugh.
3
okay.
episodes of his shenanigans trying to like win her over with really shallow attempts.
How far did you guys get caught up? Because I've seen like half of an episode, and then a couple days ago I saw part of the most recent one, and then that completely turned me off because of what happened. But I'm not going to say anything unless you guys have seen the most recent.
We've seen the most recent episode.
So
The bigger guy that's there?
yeah, like that bigger guy comes in. I'm like, well, now the title officially doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
So
I said the same thing.
I think that's a little nitpicky, though.
Well,
Oh, it's not nitpicky. Don't call your show Last Man on Earth if you're going to have more than one man in it.
if they would have brought him in like at least the next season or season after that, then sure, then whatever. Then it's,
So, what?
well, I'm saying
You have no legs to stand on because the title is either accurate or inaccurate. It doesn't matter what season they do
it could be
something in.
symbolic, though, because, the whole, I wouldn't sleep with you if you were the
I mean,
last man
I'm
on
more
Earth.
inclined to agree with you, Shanna, that I'm being too nitpicky.
Yeah.
But Stitch's point that it's unacceptable, but later on it's acceptable, that doesn't make sense.
okay,
But
sure,
we're really getting off topic here.
sure.
Okay,
It's not.
that's what I've been watching.
It's not acceptable, but at least then it's like you actually they can wear out the concept of him being the last man on Earth, and then when another man comes, well, then there's your other season.
So
Is
what
I'm
have
saying.
you been watching, Stitch?
I've been watching Arrow, disappointingly. So basically,
You've disappointingly been watching?
yes. So I've been watching it because my roommate talks about how much he likes the show. I know you've watched up to what, season 2?
Yeah, I've watched through the second season.
And it's just like it right now feels really kind of generic. I don't like any of the characters really. Like, especially not Oliver Queen. Like,
I didn't have that experience. I liked it right away, and then kind of got into the middle of the season where it gets kind of stale. But
Yeah.
at first, I liked it a lot. And I'm surprised that you didn't.
it just feels like, number one, the fact, I think I talked about this last episode, the fact that they keep jumping to the past, or to like when he was on the island, and then jumping to the modern times. So I'm kind of like missing, like I'm getting into the modern.
See, I liked
Part of the
the jump
episodes?
backs. Those were my favorite part, and I don't like the show. But the only parts I found interesting were the island parts.
But that's just it. I like the island parts, but I don't like the modern parts.
Oh, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I
like the
agree
island
with you
parts, I'm
there.
like, okay, this is him going from this, if the acting is excellent, then it's him going from this whiny rich kid to, it's kind of like Far Cry 3, where you go from this whiny character to this, well, now, he's been broken, he's been broken and rebuilt into this other character. But
Yeah.
the problem is I keep seeing him in the future where he's still hard-headed to the point where it's like, well, you have this agenda, but you're still kind of a douche. And I don't know. It's just like I cannot like him as a character.
Right.
So yeah. So I've been watching Arrow, and I'm just gonna keep with it. I want to get caught up on it, but for me, it's kind of like a rough watch.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No.
What about you, Tank?
I've been watching the new season of Community.
Nice.
That
Oh,
just started
you know,
up. The third episode came out on Yahoo Screen
Cool.
this week on Tuesday. And that is a really good season of Community so far. I'm really liking it. New characters. Elroy Patashnik, played by that guy from The Cape, Keith David. And then Frankie Dart, played by Paget Brewster.
Yeah, we've
I'm
watched
not
the
sure how to
first,
pronounce her name. I think it's Paget.
Paget. I think
it's
Paget.
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 and we've watched the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Me and
Yeah.
Shanna. I thought it's really good.
Yeah, really good.
I really liked it.
I like how
Yeah.
they're evolving it a lot of ways. Focusing more on, kind of taking advantage of the changes that they've gone through. Losing so many characters,
Right.
And I liked
Shirley and Pierce gone, and making how their group adapts to those as part of the show, rather than just trying to limp on without them.
I liked the way that Abed explored. Okay, how can this go on? The story, and
Right.
are we boring now? What's
Right.
going through Paget Brewster's character in
Right.
that first episode? It was kind of like Dan Harmon addressing the
right.
fans' fears
And
directly.
the Oculus Rift episode was also really good.
Right.
I thought virtual reality is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that doesn't mean it's not amazing.
right.
So I thought they were really.
Jesus wept.
Jesus
That's
wept.
right. Jesus wept.
For there were no more worlds to conquer.
When I think of
Now we're
VR,
just quoting the show.
when I think of VR, I keep thinking about the old Simpsons episode where they walk and try to go to the gardening simulator, and Marge's like, "Why don't you want to garden at home?" or something like that. But go on.
So Tank and I also watched
Oh.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
We did.
and it wasn't very good.
No, that was kind of a downer this week. And that is one of the most wildly inconsistent shows.
It really is.
I mean, they'll have episodes that are just like really exciting, lots of cool action, cool characters showing
Yeah,
up.
like the episode 2 weeks ago,
right.
where they talked a lot
Where
about the
Agent
humans.
Superpowers went and did crazy stuff. And I mean, like, just I'm
And now it's just dragging
just
its
making
heels.
verbal diarrhea right now while I'm trying to get back on track.
It's like they, and maybe this is exactly what's happening, but it's like they know what the next big plot point is, and they're just
Right.
wasting
Waiting
time.
it out.
Right, they're
Because
just
they have
waiting
to
for the next big
synchronize with-
movie,
exactly.
like they did with the first season, where everything was just stalled until the Winter Soldier, when that was like the whole reason this show existed, was to be background for
Right.
the aftermath of Captain America 2.
And it's weird that they got rid of the whole Hydra thing in one episode after the
Right.
end of the break. That's a spoiler. Never mind.
Edit point.
Screw it.
I don't know what you're talking
I'm
about.
just leaving that in. You know what? You watch anything else, Tank?
Let's see. I watched Community. I went to SmackDown taping in Kansas City last Tuesday. That
how
was a lot of fun.
that? Yeah.
That was pretty good. I have not gone to any sort of event like that before, so that was neat. Sat right in the front row,
Nice.
right by the stage. Saw Daniel Bryan do some stuff. That was cool. And then on the wrestling thing, we got WrestleMania on Sunday. So the show of shows, the grandest stage of them all, and it's probably going to be really bad. So I'm looking forward to it.
So, just out of my curiosity, somebody's just getting into wrestling. How does going to an actual show feel compared to just watching it on TV?
It's similar. I mean, you don't hear the announcers. They don't pipe them into the arena at all. They're only on the broadcast. So there's a lot of like weird gaps where like, the announcers are talking about, some upcoming promo or they're talking about buy the network for $9.99. But so the people on the stage are just kind of killing time.
Well,
so
it
there's a
depends
few
on
weird
where you
breaks like
sit
that.
too. Cause
Right.
I went as a kid to WCW. I was way up in the nosebleeds behind a sign. So
Right.
it wasn't great.
But yeah, I mean, it's a neat experience, especially seeing it up close and personal. And I mean, you really see that, predetermined or not, they're definitely working hard and taking some pretty heavy hits at times. So it's a fun show to watch.
You think you'd go again?
I would probably go again. I think they're coming back in July for Raw, so I'm probably going to try and go to that.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah.
All right. I noticed you're taking notes over there.
I'm just scribbling down,
psychoanalyzing us?
scribbling down thoughts as I think of them.
Oh, okay.
That's how I
Anyway, it's time for news.
roll.
We should make a new segment called Tank's Notes, where you just read his notes out loud with no context.
Well, we can't tell him when we're going to do it, though. We have to,
I know that.
make him forget about it. And, in 3 weeks, we'll just grab his notebook and read it.
That
And
might
it'll be the worst segment we've ever
That
done.
might be really embarrassing.
Yeah, completely out of
I mean,
context.
they all can't be zingers.
All right, I've got some news for you. So, Vice will launch a daily newscast as part of a 4-year content pact with HBO. So that sounds incredible to me. I think the cable news networks have something to worry about. They will run a daily half-hour Vice newscast for 48 weeks per year. The program will likely launch sometime in the fourth quarter of 2015. They're still doing their little weekly documentary series, which I've watched all of and I just love.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. So they've increased the number of those episodes that they've committed to from 14 to 35. And they're also going to be airing 32 specials produced by Vice through 2018. So HBO is really locking down Vice, getting them going, which I'm excited
It's kind of their
about.
bread and butter.
Yeah.
So, so did Vice come, was Vice around before HBO got
Definitely.
involved? Okay.
Yeah, Vice is a well-established news network.
And they do stuff that's not HBO related at all as well.
Yeah.
Like during the Ferguson riots, they had someone there streaming live everything that was happening. So
So the only real document, I want to watch a lot more of them, but the only real one I watched was when they were trying to get, go to North Korea and, try to show the North Korean people, and they're having so much trouble, and I was just captivated, and I haven't gone
Vice
back.
is amazing.
Yeah,
you should really
they
look
do
at
really
their
good stuff.
specials.
Yeah, it's very
So
good.
with this and Last Week Tonight, HBO could be a real heavy hitter when it comes to the news.
yeah,
Also,
they do have a consciousness about trying to shape the national conversation about things. Mm-hmm. That's why they always stick behind David Simon for his shows, even when they're not getting quite as many viewers as they would like.
Yeah, and they don't have a bunch of sponsors that they have to, tiptoe around and not
Exactly,
mention
right.
in their news stories. So
That's
this
why-
should be good.
That's why HBO Go going for 15. That was
I mean, they got Game
Is
of
that part of the
Thrones
news?
money.
Okay.
They don't care.
that's why having HBO Go come out for $15 a month here sometime
Yeah.
in the future. Standalone.
I'm definitely gonna buy that.
That could be them just pile driving the the TV broadcasters into the ground, because HBO is the best network on TV.
I feel like $15 a month is kind of steep for it, though, because it's they have good shows, but they don't have a ton of good shows. They've got 4 or 5 good titles.
And Amazon Prime just snapped up all their
Right.
old shows.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, they could sell it on the back catalog being incredible,
Right.
But with Amazon, like Shannon just said, having
unless
most of
they're-
that back catalog,
Unless they withdraw those rights back in somehow. but-
right? I'm sure they have a
It
year
might
or
be
two long
worth
contract.
it though. After Game of Thrones has aired,
Yeah.
just getting it for a month,
Yeah.
binge watching the whole
and
season.
even however many people, millions of people pirate Game of Thrones. If 10% of those people buy
Yeah, exactly.
1 month, they're
They're gonna make their
golden.
money back.
So there's a couple things with that. I was thinking about that as well. Is number one, considering that people spend $20 a month on top of the cable bill for HBO, I think $15 is actually a good price.
Pretty reasonable.
And then number two, when you think about it, if you play WoW, you're spending $15 a month for a service of playing a game that you paid for. I don't think $15 is that much. It's just the fact of like when you're thinking about it, it's like, oh well.
Right. I mean, I guess like compared to like $7.50 a month for Netflix or $9.99 for the WWE Network, or however much Amazon Prime is, $80 a year now.
I think it's $90 a year.
So I mean, those are all like less than $10 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, just in comparison to those for a single network, that just feels a little steep.
Well, and with this Vice thing, I think it'll be worth it because they'll have also a news program that you can watch 4 days a week, I think, or 5 days a week. Okay. Second story is kind of a fluff piece. It's NBC orders a new series called The Island. It's a survivalist reality show, but there's no prizes, no eliminations. It's just
who literally dies first.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Yeah, 14 ordinary American men are put to the test when they are stripped of their modern-day conveniences and lifestyles to survive on a deserted island.
That show already exists.
What is it?
It's called Colony. It was on Discovery Channel.
That was a great
watching
show.
some of those. Like they set up like a frontier town kind of thing.
The first season was incredible of the Colony.
They kind of did that, yeah.
Like they live in like 18th century style.
It was like post-apocalyptic.
You're thinking of a different show. I know what you're talking about, but oh well.
That's my leg.
I know what show you're talking about, but that's not the one I'm specifically thinking of. This is one where they're supposed to act like there's been an apocalypse, and it's like 20 people trying to survive without anything.
Okay.
In the first season, they had like MIT scientists, people from NASA, and like a couple of more normal people, like contractors and stuff.
I think I remember hearing about that.
They made wood gasifiers to turn wood into gas.
Mm-hmm. And that they had a super genius on there that used ozone to like purify water and
stuff.
They
ran out of coal, so they couldn't purify the water anymore.
Right.
So he had like a makeshift ham radio or something, and he converted it into something that could generate ozone, and they could pump that into the water to
that
purify
was incredible. I liked the second season a little less because it was just straight up average people. But anyway, that's the second news story. Thirdly, the X-Files revival.
I'm super excited about this.
Yes.
6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yep. X-Files gang is getting back together for a 6-episode limited series to which Fox has formally given a series order.
It's not enough episodes.
I think it's a good...
it might be too many episodes.
If they do like a good, we're so sorry for the last season and the last movie of the X-Files, here's a nice little like 6-hour story to cap us out.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with that. If they do like, if the whole thing... And one of the suggestions I've heard is like, their Monster of the Week episodes that they were really well known for. If they do 6 really good Monster of the Week episodes that all tie together into some really big, like finale, like a little 6-episode arc, that would be really satisfying.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. And it's in the sweet spot right now. I mean, the concept of the show has not aged as far as American Interest, like an investigating show that investigates supernatural phenomena. I think it'll do great.
Yeah, absolutely.
1 second. There we go.
Okay. Fourth story, Snoop Dogg developing HBO drama about 1980s Los Angeles. So Snoop Dogg announced Friday in his keynote speech at South by Southwest that he will executive produce a drama about 1980s Los Angeles.
Is he writing it or executive producing it?
He's probably going to executive
or
produce
both.
it.
He's just executive producing it.
That could be good.
He's going to do it with director Alan Hughes, and he's done The Book of Eli, and the writer is going to be Rodney Barnes from The Boondocks.
Oh,
nice.
He's a really good writer.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of like dark comical?
I don't know for sure. I know the concept is about a inner city LA family, and it's going to explore the effects of Reagan-era social policies on the area.
I doubt that's going to be very
so
comical.
Probably not there might be some in there.
I mean,
have you ever seen
the Boondocks is really big on that kind of like
social commentary.
Social commentary is like really hard satire. So I could see like if he takes that in less of a comical direction, I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
That may just make like everyone. That just may make me sad. If you take the Boondocks and take out the funny part of it, it's real depressing.
Yeah, that's probably
so were the
true.
80s.
Yeah.
To wrap it up, I have to talk about this because it's the biggest news in TV right now.
No, I have one bigger when you're done.
Okay.
I want to hear about your
The
bigger.
ratings for Empire. It just closed its series finale. That show gained tons of viewers every single episode. That's extremely rare. Usually you see like a big surge of people for the premiere, and then they drop off throughout the season. This one did the opposite.
Literally every episode had more viewers than the last, which is
weird.
rare.
Yeah, in the Live Plus 3 estimates from Nielsen, the hour finale of Empire grew to 21.92 million and an 8.8 rating in the 18 to 49 range. It's the highest
That's like
demo
5 times
rating.
more than Community.
Don't make me sad for no reason. That's not fair.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just because they had that marketing budget. The reason I have no interest in watching Empire is because they had so many commercials at every turn for such a long time.
Well, and they're saying that's part of the success.
Yeah, and
But
it just drove me crazy. I just have no interest in seeing that show because of those ads.
I did see the ratings news, and I did try to watch it, but my God, that show is like a straight up soap opera.
Oh, it is.
Straight from the get go.
The
It's
writer
a
will
little
even-
melodramatic.
The writer will even admit that it's a straight up soap opera.
So I don't know. It just kind of felt too cheesy for me, I guess. And I was like, not interested. But I guess it's whatever.
And I have the most important news of the week.
Oh boy, I'm ready for it.
I just read this like an hour ago. I didn't write anything down, so I don't know much. But NBC has decided to revive the hit sitcom Coach.
Oh, I
I
saw
heard
it.
about that. Yeah,
That's
that
I
guy.
never
people were
watched it.
clamoring for that show.
That guy who's been waiting for it is real happy right now.
Yeah, I
This
don't know
Michael
anything
Ironside
about
on
Coach.
TV.
You know,
again.
maybe you don't cancel the one sitcom that you have that has like some viewers, and then air a bunch of sitcoms and then cancel them because they all
right,
suck.
and then do a revival of an old one that people remember fondly.
Yeah, you could have just kept Community going for like a season or two.
How many viewers was Community getting when they decided
It's
to
getting
cancel?
like 3 to 4 million.
So they're not
on
making
broadcast.
money?
Their online stuff with their like streaming and other things are a lot bigger, but those don't count for ratings.
Yeah.
So as far as like somebody who doesn't track that stuff, that's not very good.
I mean, viewership is shrinking on network altogether.
But like,
All the sitcoms they
mean,
brought
it's-
out this season
yeah.
did worse than Community.
And this season 5 of Community, I think, was their best one yet. Like it was one of their highest rated seasons, and they still got axed. I mean, a lot of it is political stuff. A lot of it is just straight numbers. You know, Parks and Rec did 0.5 points better than you guys. Sorry.
Yeah. So is that the news? That's all, Mark? Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was my very important Coach-related news that I had to tell you all.
13 episode straight to series starring Craig T. Nelson.
All right.
I don't think I ever watched Coach.
Yeah, I never did.
I remember it having been on the television.
I think
That's
like a Nick.
That was the show that I changed the channel on Nick at Night when it came on.
I did that whenever Nick at Night ever came on. I wasn't big into.
Now it's time for Showcase! For Showcase, we are watching the 2014 FX television series Fargo. Every episode of The Fool's Lantern will cover 2 episodes. Spoilers and all. So let's get started. Episodes 7 and 8 were directed by Scott Winant, who also directed episodes of Carnival, Californication, Breaking Bad, and some other shows that aren't as good as those 3.
Oh, okay.
He was my favorite director yet.
I would say that he's definitely on par with the first director of the series, the one who
Yeah.
did the first 2 episodes.
Right.
We did still get a little bit of those weird whiteout special effects that we had before.
Yeah, that was probably more of just like for stylistic consistency. I guess.
Right.
They had to match
Yeah.
that so you could be like, oh yeah, this is that weird looking scene.
Yeah. But we started with episode 7, Who Shaves the Barber? Shanna, do you want to tell us about that episode?
Yes. So this one opens up in the hospital, and we see Gus Grimley there, head and hands, just so distraught over shooting Molly. I like the way they shot that scene, all in reverse.
in reverse.
Like
That was pretty cool.
Slow track back.
Yeah. Then we move to Chaz, Kitty, and Gordo having just a normal family morning. They have no idea that their entire life is going to be wrecked.
They learn about how fish can get sucked up by a tornado, though.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Purely coincidental. So that means, the Stavros Milos thing was like an actual just act of God.
Right.
Right.
Anywho, that was too coincidental for me, but whatever.
I mean, I think they were talking about it because it had just happened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it makes
It was-
sense.
yeah.
And, after thinking about it, like, they're on the lakes, Superior Lakes, like, giant bodies of water that wouldn't freeze, so I guess it makes sense.
Right.
Wait, are they in Duluth for that part? I think that was when they're in Bemidji, which...
Bemidji, is that close to any of those lakes?
Got a resident
It can
Minnesota
go
expert
miles,
here.
though.
Right. They said it can
right?
throw them miles away.
I can't remember where Bemidji is in Minnesota. I just drive through it all the time.
That's helpful. Thank you for
input.
There are lakes, but they're everywhere in Minnesota.
Yes. Okay. And then Gordo goes on his way to school. It's kind of established that he is a bit of a troublemaker, this kid, because when he gets on the bus, it's no funny stuff from the bus driver.
But we don't know if that's because he's actually a troublemaker or because the bus driver doesn't understand how to deal with like children with special needs.
Which this whole thing, because you're built up, you know exactly what's about to happen next. It's
and you're following
so
that
tense because you're
backpack.
just like, the camera's
You don't
just
know when
staying
it's gonna
right on
happen.
that backpack, and it's a very, very well paced scene.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So eventually there's a little scuffle in the lunch hall or whatever, and the backpack gets turned over and a gun just goes flying out, clattering on the ground. Everybody's dead silent. It's a huge deal. His father Chaz is called about this because the police are going to search his house.
Right.
And he zooms home because he's like, I got that illegal, what's it called? Kalashnikov or
Remember
something?
that giant
gun.
Chekhov's gun in his cabinet.
Yeah. So he's like, shh, they're going to find this illegal gun. He has no idea what they're actually
He
going to
pulls
find.
off a real nice skid on his
Yeah.
way into the driveway, too.
Oh,
That was pretty
real good
legit.
snow tire.
I want to know how many times they had to try that scene out
Right.
before they actually
many
got it. It
Wrecked
was
cop cars did they have to wheel off set?
exactly.
So Kitty's there just like beyond herself, already like very upset with him for the fact that her son is carrying a gun, and she probably hates the gun collection and all that stuff. And then she sees those beautiful beige panties, those grandma panties coming out, and those pictures of Lester's wife, and she is spitting mad, literally. So.
In the Hammer.
And the hammer. Yeah, the hammer.
The murder weapon.
The
Like
murder weapon.
the sheriff's expression too, just like dumbfounded,
like
what's this
And,
is all right
yeah.
here and why, and just like can't even believe what he's
and
seeing.
Chaz's expression, where
Right.
he's just like,
He just
even
freezes
more
up.
surprised. 'Cause
I really like the direction in this scene where it's just like him just whoa, not
And it
knowing
gets
what
real
to do.
quiet. All
yeah,
the sound
the sound
drains out.
designer is just like that, like train, kind of like that chugga.
Well,
like,
that's the
heartbeat
washing
noise.
machine.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's
It
the
is.
washing
Good,
machine.
Good call.
First time I think it plays that it's not Lester.
Okay,
It's-
but yeah, just like that muting of
But in a way
everything
it was
else around
Lester.
there.
Yeah,
Right.
And her freaking out and like
Mhm.
hitting him and going nuts.
Yeah, it was really the sound design of both of these episodes was phenomenal. I have several points in here where I've written the sound design is really good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's one of those things where you could just see what's going through everyone's mind, like where even like Bob Odenkirk's character was like, this doesn't make sense, but it has to make sense. It's right in front of me,
Right.
but this just doesn't make sense. How could this even happen?
right.
Yeah.
So, like, just like the whole fact that like you can just see what they're thinking without them saying anything
Which
is fantastic.
that plays into the scene that happens. I think it's the next scene where he's talking to
To Lester,
Lester.
yeah, that is the
And
next
Lester
and
scene.
he's just.
A festering pile of crap.
Oh my gosh!
But
And if
Bob Odenkirk is just he's a small town cop and he can't handle what's happening, so he's ready for Lester just to tell him what to believe at this
he's
point.
feeding him stuff too. He's like, "Oh, you were scared of him. I know he has a temper. Remember what he did?" And
Yeah.
it's like,
But I view that as Bob Odenkirk's character not being able to handle
Right.
all of the loose ends and just wanting a neat package, something easy to understand.
yeah,
But
Well,
isn't
and like
scary.
he brings up like all these horrible tragedies in the past that have happened, and how this is so much worse than any of those. So it's like something this bad has happened on his watch, and it's his job to put it all together.
Yeah.
And he can't handle it, so he's willing to listen to Lester being entirely too convenient and too sincere.
I mean, and if Molly had been in that room, she would have started poking holes. She would have been
Right.
writing
Yeah.
notes. Like they weren't recording or anything. He was just having a conversation.
Fortunately, she was still in the hospital
yeah,
where we find out that Gus, in fact, did shoot her.
He did indeed,
Yeah.
right in the spleen.
yeah, that spleen's gone.
I think this
Jeez.
kind of
Needs a new one.
what happened with him rushing into the whiteout conditions and then deciding to shoot without finding out what was happening first.
Right.
It's kind of another example of punishing people who don't do their homework in this show.
Well, and there's that moment too, right in that same scene where she's like smiling and she's like, I saw the guy and I pulled the trigger twice. Like just like they trained you.
Yeah.
It was like she remembered her training under pressure.
Yeah.
And that's for her. That's her point of pride, is remembering what she was trained to do.
Yeah.
And then Gus is just there, literally the extreme exact opposite.
I just shot what I saw without finding out. Oh well.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't say oh well. He felt really bad about it.
He offered her a spleen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spleens for everybody.
Yeah. So let's see here.
Which, and a nitpicky thing in that one that I wrote, her dad shows up to watch TV with her, turns on that fancy LED TV in the hospital room, and it's making like tube popping noises as they change the channels.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
just
notice
like,
that.
like, well, that's
funny.
weird. But that's a nitpick.
Yeah. So Molly, we see her in the hospital room. Then she goes to see Wrench, and she informs Wrench that Mr. Numbers has been killed. Not by who, but you can see that Wrench is
Yeah.
clearly very upset about this. That
Right.
was his buddy, his
Yeah.
partner. And she does a line very reminiscent of the movie, which I thought Mark might have noticed
Yeah, I
I
did.
noticed that too.
It was extremely similar to the final scene.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but it was something along the line. And what's the point? Or,
Like
what did she
all
say?
these people dead, and for what?
And for what?
It's
That's
a
what
nice
it
day
was.
outside and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it hit the Mr. Wrench's acting in that scene just was very.
Oh,
I mean,
he's
not
so
even
expressive.
like doesn't even have his usual sign language, so he's just like lying in his bed, but just his deadpan expression and just his eyes moving are so
Yeah. He's
so emotive.
incredible in that scene.
The problem is I don't ever want to see that actor do a different role because it's just going to ruin this character for me because he's probably going to be talking.
No, he's deaf. Well, the actor is actually deaf.
Oh, he is?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
Time to watch all his movies.
Well, then great.
oh boy.
That's the one thing holding him back.
You're glad that he's deaf. That's great, Stitch.
Well, he won't ruin that character for me
So
anymore.
I think after that scene, does it flash to...
We see that guy in Reno in a water aerobics class.
Yeah, this guy.
And
Who
we're
is this
like,
guy? Have
who
we seen him
is
before?
this? I've never seen him before.
yeah.
And he goes back to his office, where Malvo comes to find him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so the guy knows what's up when Malvo's there. He's like, all right, do you want to kill me standing or what's going on here?
Right.
What
I think I was assuming this is the guy in like the first or second episode when he was going to go kill Sam Hess. He called that guy and told him, "Hey, I've got some personal business. I'm going to be a couple days."
Yeah.
That's the guy who I'm assuming was on the other end of that conversation.
Yeah, this guy sounds like he's the hub for assassins or something. Like
Right.
he's the mastermind behind all the assassins. He just assigns guys out to all these different seedy jobs around the country. So Lorne Malvo thinks that, this guy who knows where he is and knows what jobs he's on told some other person, this Fargo character, to send these guys Wrench and Numbers out to get him. So he's there to get down to the bottom of it. And even if it is based off personal information, which is what... Do they ever say his name? The guy that...
They
Malvo's
don't.
to-
They never really address
Yeah.
him in any way other than...
It's personal, but Malvo knows that this guy will know what Fargo means.
Right.
One thing I took exception with something in this scene. Like, he had all these pins on the map, and at one point Malvo asks, "Oh, you have a pin in every state except for," I forget the state, Georgia? And he asked the guy,
Right.
"Why don't you have a pin in Georgia?" And the guy's answer was, "My wife was Korean. She used to spit on me during sex." And I was like, is that an answer? He didn't say anything like she was from Georgia. He didn't say anything
Right.
but that. So I got confused. And I want to know what those pins are about.
Right.
Yeah. Anywho, so Lorne Malvo does his menacing thing where, okay, I have the phones here. This one calls the ambulance. This one calls the, coroner. Depending on how you answer, that's who I'm going to call. So, judging by where Lorne Malvo heads next, it's clear that he told him what Fargo is and where they're at and all that stuff. But
And he also apparently called the coroner.
yeah, because there's no way that guy was getting out of there alive.
Right.
This guy is connected. The moment that Malvo left, he would have been, people would have been sent after him. There's no way Malvo would have left him alive.
Right.
So,
And then we have perhaps the most important scene of the episode.
Key and Peele.
Key and Peele
Yeah.
are
There's one
now
right,
on the show.
Right before this one, though, where Lester, we see him kind of cashing in his victim card a little bit. And he's,
Oh, yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
he's a free, unsuspected man now, and he's
Yeah.
just doing his thing and being scummy and being a real
This
manipulative.
is the part with the
very-
Widow Hess.
Yeah.
Up until this point, like, I don't know if it's Martin Freeman's performance, but even though Lester's done these terrible things, I've still found him to be pretty likable.
Right.
Like, I'm kind of on his side.
Well, that's
in a
because
way,
he's
but
been
here he just
he's been weak Lester up until this point.
Right. Now he's just this like cold sociopath.
Yeah.
And
he does something totally disgusting by just like
He's no longer vulnerable the way he used to be.
And now, the creepy name of Lester is now fitting to his character.
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah. So
We just lost all the listeners named Lester.
we're sorry, Lester.
yeah.
But yeah, Key and Peele. That was weird.
They were bickering over fast food or something in the
Yeah.
car. Yeah. One thing I didn't like. Okay, so this is the big scene in the episode. This is kind of the climactic point where Malvo just has his gun out, goes into the building and does a shoot 'em up with the camera outside the building, panning and moving.
Right.
One thing I want to know is, because Key and Peele are still kind of bickering. They don't really notice until the guy pops out the window and falls on the sidewalk. They didn't hear the gunshots?
Right. Which I think is why they get in trouble in the next episode.
They didn't
But-
hear the gunshots?
Yeah. I thought it was weird. They're sitting like 10 feet. I mean, they're literally 30 feet away when he opens fire the first time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the joke. The joke about all that is that like they're bickering so hard back and forth, we're even like hearing gunshots they didn't notice.
No.
And that was just why it was
way.
weird for me, just because like as soon as I see them, I'm like, these guys they're famous sketch comedy guys, and this has not been a real comedy heavy show at all. So like to see them all of a sudden here just like cracking wise, and
I do
and,
like Keegan Michael
we
Key
did-
and Jordan Peele though.
we
So
didn't notice.
Yeah.
It just didn't work for me at all. It seemed weird to have
Yeah.
them there.
Out of place.
also,
Yeah.
I don't like this what they're doing to Malvo. Like I get that he's badass, but really taking out. I think in the next
Yeah,
episode they say
having
like
him,
22 people or something.
Yeah.
Having him be superhuman like that, yeah,
It really
it's kinda
ruins
weak.
it for me. I don't like that. I like a little bit of weakness, and I don't
Subtlety.
think we've ever seen that for Malvo.
Yeah, and I liked as well kind of with this scene, the actual shooting of it. Like I like that shot of the outside. Like
Yeah.
it's really good on the just being very suggestive of what's happening and kind of portraying how long his rampage is going back and forth over the building.
Yeah.
But the thing I did not like was the windows on that building, which is like 85% of what you're looking at, just look really fake.
Do they?
I don't know if that was me.
I didn't catch
they
that
looked
at all.
kind of
No, you're
computer
right.
generated,
They
and
did.
like there's a couple times where they break and it looks really fake.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that just kind of took me out of that scene. They're just being like, this just looks kind of like it was done in post and not like a good,
It was
long
kind of
shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
We also see that Molly. Did you have anything?
Right.
else?
Are you talking about the actual most important part of the episode?
Well, she plots out. First, we see her in the hospital, and she's plotting everything out on the window. And that's finally kind of gets through to Gus what she's seeing. Like, oh, he sees the pattern now and what she's put together.
Right.
And she's got this, information, and she's very excited to share it with the police department. When she gets there, though,
She finds out that Lester's brother has been arrested,
and that
And it-
sends her in a tailspin.
and this is the first time you really see Molly break down in the entire
Yeah.
series.
just
She's
that, like,
always together.
hopeless, dejected look.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's maybe just a trait of this director. It just seems to really like those like silent
yeah.
shots with just like a close up on someone's reactions
Yeah.
as everything explodes around them.
And it's just like, how is she going to surmount this? Like, I think previously she's like, okay, there's a problem, I'll address it. But now this is, I don't think she thought Lester was capable
Yeah.
Yeah.
of doing something like this. And now she's like, I don't know what to do.
I think, going back to the Key and Peele aspect of the show, I think functionally it's pretty interesting what they're doing because up until this point, it seems like Lester is the loose end that's going to lead to Malvo.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, it seems plausible that Malvo will lead to Lester instead.
Oh,
So
nice.
it could be
I like
interesting
that.
what happens in these final two
true.
episodes.
It's true.
So with the one thing I want to bring up with the Key and Peele aspect of it is, so they're supposed to be from Minneapolis, right? Or
They're local FBI.
local.
I'm not sure how local, but they're
I mean, maybe what
regional.
the reason why they're supposed to feel so out of place because they're outsiders. Like they're not, maybe they haven't been in the northern part of Minnesota like that, so they're kind of outsiders and all that stuff. That's why they kind of feel out of place, is because
I don't know about
I
that.
don't-
It
yeah.
seems like they were the people that have been watching this criminal organization for quite a while now.
Right.
They
I mean,
messed
like
up.
they knew their lunch schedule. They knew
They
like,
got
oh,
too
lunchtime's over.
comfortable. Yeah, that's what happened with the Key and Peele characters. By the way, I don't know their names. I'm just going to call them Key and Peele.
I think like we've been saying Bob Odenkirk, even though the character every
Yeah.
single episode.
I have them written down, but I'm not going to read that,
Yeah, it's just easier to say the actor or actress
especially when they're really familiar actors.
Yeah.
or
Um,
actress.
So the episode title, Who Shaves the Barber, refers to a paradox,
The Barber Paradox.
the Barber Paradox, which
And who
states,
shaves
yeah, how'd you guess?
I don't know. I'm real good at this stuff.
The barber is a man in town who shaves all those and only those men in town who do not shave themselves. And who shaves the barber? Because he can't
And there's
shave
also
himself.
another like qualifier in
Another
there
barber.
that like
But then he has to
everybody
shave
in
himself.
town is clean shaven. That's one of the premises.
Right.
And the barber shaves anyone who doesn't shave himself.
But it's not really a paradox.
Yeah, I was thinking about
It's
that.
kind of a convenient paradox. It's informal.
If everyone is clean shaven, then the barber has to be clean shaven. But if he shaves himself, he can't shave himself.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So what does this apply to?
The fact that a lot of times logical paradoxes are kind of silly.
They're
Yeah.
fun to play with.
Right.
Maybe it refers. I don't know.
What were you gonna say?
Maybe it refers to.
Maybe
I think it's Malvo.
How about 99%?
If Malvo, if being the barber is killing other people, then
Yeah. Like there was other killers after Malvo. Those two other assassins.
right,
Just kind of like how beards will go after the barber. Wait.
yeah,
What?
okay. So that was our heady discussion of the title. I thought the episode was pretty decent. It was not the strongest episode of the series so far.
I think it's one of the least action packed, aside from that ending sequence with Malvo.
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the more like emotionally driven, just on like the directing style alone. Like a lot of it is carried on characters' emotions rather than the stuff that's actually happening. Because it's kind of like, I mean, the Jenga piece has been pulled out of the tower,
Yeah,
and now you're just kind of watching everything fall over.
it's a big episode for Molly. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
It's like basically they're like, since this is episode 7 or
7,
8. So these episodes are going to set up for the final episodes coming up. So they need to make sure they can set up and kind of get everything rolling for the final 2 episodes where everything just gets blown out.
Right. So the next episode, episode 8, is titled The Heap, and this is the least veiled of all of the titles
Yeah.
of the episodes.
It's a clear reference.
Would Tank or Stitch like to summarize?
I cannot.
Come on, Stitch. Give it a shot.
I don't.
What do you remember? Anything that you remember?
Yeah, what do you remember from the episode?
Not
Yeah.
anything.
Not anything?
The problem is I watched it a while ago, and I just need refreshers.
I guess Tank's gonna.
Okay, it's on you, Tank.
I'm
you know
sorry.
what you could do?
I'm sorry.
You could prepare for the podcast.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Oh,
It's fine.
it was
Go
my
ahead.
bad. I thought I was going to watch it yesterday. Then that didn't happen. Then I was going to watch it while I was working today, and then that didn't happen.
Oops.
Why don't we put up some more sound protection?
There's your sound protection.
Yeah, so this episode starts off with a really nicely shot, good industrial sequence of a washing machine factory. And we find out, finally, Lester has ordered himself a brand new factory direct American-made washing machine.
And I wanted to make a little note here, the music, the little whistling theme.
Yeah.
I listened to halfway listened to the director's commentary on this episode, And it really made me respect the writer a bit more because he specifically would call the composer with things like, I
Right.
need a whistling theme with a ukulele that goes into some orchestral theme,
Right.
or like, I need this song on a steel drum.
Right.
And it made me go, oh, he's really thinking of like how he wants it to play.
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
that's
So Lester gets this new washing machine installed, has the old one conveniently hauled away with all of its blood and residues. And then the camera goes all spinny. And we find out that Lester is just the most sentimental man on the planet. As he takes armloads of his wife's things and throws them in a trash bag and
Which I think is not
dumps
the
them out
smartest
on
thing
the
to
curb.
do.
No, your wife was just murdered, 2 days ago now? Something.
Whoa,
And
it's
if
only
Molly
been 2
shows
days.
up,
No
It's
way.
in the same week. This has been a
Is it
very
really?
it's a really brief time.
That's what they're saying.
Because in the previous episode, the sheriff's like, 3 people killed in 2 days.
How long did it take Molly to recover from her gunshot
I don't know.
wound? Anyway,
They didn't really go into it.
Yeah.
that was
Loophole.
yeah, right? I don't know. At any rate,
Plot hole, you mean?
Pothole.
it's a
I'm tired.
it's a very short grieving period for his murdered wife that Lester's going through as he literally leaves a pile of his wife's belongings on the curb.
that could be attributed to grieving behavior.
I
though.
guess,
like,
maybe.
I can't see it. I need to
He
get
showed
rid
all
of
this
it.
silver spoon. Should have at least put those on like eBay or Cash for Gold. Gotten a little money out of it.
Well,
But
I could see if it's been like a month or some, like for a normal person, not a psychopath like he is. Like,
Well, it hasn't been a month.
well, I'm saying like in the future to throw it all out because like you have to like, kind of move on eventually, and then if you have all that stuff around, you can't forget about it.
yeah.
So if
Event immediately.
Eventumedia,
Yep.
But
awkward pause and go.
all right. So then we go back to the police station. Find out Molly's gotten herself cleared to go back to work. She shows up and she's got her board set up again with all the pieces she was putting together in the hospital. Here's all the angles of the plan. Here's how everything, and she's got it. She's got him dead to rights. Everything leads straight to Lester because
It's so clear.
he's made a mess of things. He is
Yeah.
not a talented murderer.
No.
But as the sheriff protests, we had drinks to celebrate. So the case
was
is
great.
sealed forever.
And then he's like, "Oh, she's sad. Tell her about the cake. Like
Right.
that's gonna solve her problem."
But in Bob Odenkirk's defense, a lot of what she's decided is conjecture.
Right.
She doesn't
Absolutely.
have
She's got
definitive
very
proof.
compelling conjecture, but yeah, it's a less compelling argument than we found a bloody hammer in the guy's
That's true.
garage.
Yeah.
which and then her expression kind of is he's telling sometimes you don't get what you thought you're going to get. Sometimes you're wrong. And just that expression is like it just breaks her and she realizes there's just no way she's going to convince them of the truth.
And this is the first time we see her really like be adamant about something. She's
Right.
been really Minnesota nice about this whole situation, not really wanting to cause a stir. And this is the first time she's broken down to the point where she's like, "Come on, look at the evidence," and she's just totally shut down.
Right.
At the same time, it's also like kind of where you feel the most attached to her because all of a sudden, like one of the main characters turned to a total piece of shit. Crap, whatever. Okay. Because you just now, anytime you see Lester, you're just kind of disgusted to see him
Yeah.
and whatever he's
Yeah.
doing. So now you have Molly, who, like, she's the only one you can really trust in to solve this issue because she's the only one that knows. Like she's the only one that keeps pushing, and she's maybe thinking she's being irrational about this. Maybe she's she's maybe starting to question herself. But for us,
I don't
since
think she is. I think she's just extremely frustrated.
I mean, we know she isn't based on what we see later in the episode.
yeah,
Right.
she sticks to it.
yeah, but I mean,
It's frustrating.
have you never questioned yourself but still stuck to something?
I
guess
think
that's
for
true.
her, she's got so much conviction about it.
She knows Lester.
Like,
she can see it.
She knows with certainty what happened because just she's seen all the pieces and she's seen the way Lester has behaved.
It's fitting perfectly together for her.
But at the same
So
time, they found a bloody hammer inside of a gun cabinet with an illegal gun in pictures, where maybe she is starting to have maybe I'm reading into it too much. I don't know, but maybe she's starting to have some doubts about herself because there's clear evidence right there. That's all you need to throw this guy in prison Right. But she still is so focused on all this stuff.
But I know we see a few other things here as kind of some pieces like just sort of falling into place now. Chaz's wife comes by and is just kind of talking about the fact that Gordo's in jail. But
Gordo.
maybe we're going to be able to get him out on probation. I don't know, maybe. And like Lester's just his like, wait, they're going to let Chaz out? Oh, no, your kid. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like the fact that he's destroyed her family. Like we've had to sell everything to pay the legal fees. Like their home, their family is just destroyed. So
Yeah.
Lester could save his own skin. And he's fine.
And I really like that she's upset.
Right.
But the reason she's upset is like, he cheated on me with that.
Right.
Implication is that how could he cheat on me with that person who's like so frumpy and like average?
Right.
I miss, what is it?
Mrs. something County.
Mrs.
Humboldt
something
County or
yeah.
something. Mrs.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
So that's the point of contention
Yes.
for her is like, he cheated on me with her?
Right.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. So then we cut back to Key and Peele again.
Yeah.
Which just, I don't know. They're kind of bugging me because we cut to him and they're just like in the Federal Bureau of Investigation office and their boss is dragging them down to the file room to be exiled for letting
They're in
22
the,
people get murdered
The
3 feet
FBI
away.
equivalent of the rubber room.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know, like it's just weird for me tonally the way that
To
they
see
fit into
them.
the show because they're just like cutting up and like making these little jokes. I'm just
Yeah.
like, it's kind of
They do
They
that
don't-
a lot though, don't they? It's like, here's something serious, here's something lighthearted.
I
don't
guess,
know.
but like that's sort of just like throwaway. Like here's a little joke. Ha! Like that's not been the show's style up to now.
It just doesn't feel
just
like,
feels weird.
It doesn't feel like in the spirit of the show.
Hmm.
Like it just feels out of place. Like this could have been in a different show and it would have been fine.
I don't know. I didn't feel that way. I liked seeing Key and Peele in there.
Well, you're also big
I honestly,
fans.
That's true.
them.
this is probably a bad thing. I didn't really have any. I don't know. I just didn't take in what was happening with them very well.
Yeah,
It just kind of felt
Right,
flat to me.
right.
It didn't really.
I was not like, I didn't think this
It
is
felt-
bad. It just is like, okay.
it felt like somebody knew Key and Peele and were like, "Hey, you guys want a bit part in this
Yeah.
thing?"
It didn't push the story along at all. It just kind of like.
Well, but they
well,
are going to
that
be a
yet.
big part of the story, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like them making these jokes isn't helping the story at all, or like giving you anything to think about, like a lot of the other banter in here.
It could be that they killed off a lot of characters and they just need some new ones to take up screen time.
Maybe.
They need some new like dopey characters because
Right.
they've gotten rid of the trainer. And
They just realized every audience or member.
And that's that's a
Gotten
good point.
depressed.
The trainer had a lot of humor
It's
to
true.
what was happening with him.
But
Yeah.
like his humor kind of had a point in the fact that it was showing that
yeah.
he was so oblivious to what was happening around him. The fact that he was being led into his own death.
and bumbling.
Right. So I like for him that fit in a character basis, whereas these guys just kind of feel like, oh hey, it's those comedians from the internet. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be funny. Say
Also-
something funny, guys.
Also, I'm not big Keaton Peele fans, but
oh, I love.
I like
her
him a
in
lot,
that.
but just
Yeah.
in here they don't. They felt out of place.
But yeah, they go down that rubber room, and this is where is this? No, that's after the jump, right? The
Yeah.
hate.
Yeah, he takes that picture of Lorne walking right next to them in the car, puts it up on the wall,
Yeah.
and then the other guy is bouncing the ball, and then we cut back to the hospital with Mr. Wrench, where his guard needs to go to the bathroom, where he encounters Lorne Malvo. One of the last times we see Mr. Malvo in this episode.
Yeah.
Murders the cop and goes and delivers a pretty chilling message to Mr. Wrench that it's
He
like,
does that
I-
bear speech. This
right about the bear getting his leg caught in the trap, and he's like, he died. He chewed his own foot off, and that killed him, but he died on his own terms.
Yeah.
And he tells him that he murdered Mr. Numbers, and that throws Wrench into just a fury.
Yeah.
But then gives him the key, gives him the clipboard for some reason. I don't know why he needs that clipboard. but I don't know.
Yeah.
And then at first I think he was going to just give him the clipboard as like something to use to hack his own wrist off. I thought that was where they were going to go.
That would have been amazing.
And they dropped the key on him, and I was like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
But
The struggle is going to come after the
Right.
shackles. Yeah.
yeah, but then he offers him the chance, whenever you're feeling better, come and find me. We'll have this out.
That reminded me of Kill Bill so much.
Right.
Yeah. When she tells that little girl, if you're still sore about this.
Yeah.
Now, is that the last scene before? No, it's
no,
not.
No.
There's one more scene. We see Molly
Yes.
back at the police station with flowers abounding everywhere.
Dude,
We also see,
I
well,
take
before,
exception to
before
that.
we did go to the diner with the flowers at the diner as
Yeah.
well, and they're having the party, and Bob Odenkirk is serving cake and tells the widow of the sheriff, "Here's a cake with the thing that murdered your husband on it." Which
It's fun.
thematically,
I think that was for
your cop's been shot. Molly's been shot. Here's something that shot you.
Yeah.
Your husband's been shot. Here's something that shot him. Eat this as
Here,
a fun
you get
thing.
the-
You get the barrel. You get the clip.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And Molly just can't bring herself to tell the widow, like, that's not the killer.
Right. Just
I
give her-
didn't catch that.
Let her have
Let her
closure.
have it. She'll deal with it later.
Right. So then we go on a little bit further though, and Molly's still with all these flowers everywhere, which you said you took issue to.
I take exception to it. Have you guys ever ordered flowers like that? They are expensive.
Like $100 a pop for those little
Oh
arrangements.
my god, he must have spent hundreds of dollars.
I mean, he did
It's
shoot
little-
her in the
Shot
spleen.
her.
No,
Yeah.
but that's way overkill.
I mean, how much would
Is
a
it overkill for shooting someone?
Okay, but
how much
try
would a
to-
spleen cost?
Shanna, if you
compared
shot
to
me, I'd
this?
expect a whole room of flowers.
an entire
I'll just-
An
so
entire
many
room
No,
of flowers.
no.
He can
if
bury
if,
it up.
If Shanna shoots you, we're bringing you barbecue for a week.
I mean, as much as I can eat.
No, not as much as you can eat.
No, that's not fair.
You're gonna bankrupt me.
Well, you shot me.
This is getting real. Anywho, I think it's more than
You
just
almost
the fact,
killed me.
God.
it's more than just the fact that that he shot her. He's also a little sweet on Molly.
Oh,
So he's
yeah.
giving her these phone calls, and finally they're like, "Hey, you want
And
to?"
she gives some really good smile. She
gives
you
him
can
a little
tell
bit
that
back.
she's infatuated.
Yeah,
It's cute.
yeah. So
It
they,
is.
They
It
have this
actually
little
is.
flirtation on the
Yeah.
phone and talking about going to the county fair together.
And the whole time, I'm just expecting Malvo to walk out. and
Right.
shoot.
That's like as the camera's panning on, like he's about to get murdered.
Yeah.
You know, that's just he's about to be happy. He has to die now.
Poor
But
Gus.
in fact, what we actually see is a very sudden time jump 1 year in the future,
Wow.
which I was not expecting this at all.
Yeah,
I
me
didn't-
neither.
So far, everything's been pretty like linear.
Yeah.
I guess this is linear, just forward a year.
Yeah.
We find out that Gus has quit the police force and taken up his dream job of being a postman. That's what he wanted to do all
Yeah.
along
Yeah.
before
Yep.
he became a cop. But that mail truck looks awfully cold. I don't know, man. I don't want to drive a mail truck like that around the
But at least he
streets
doesn't
of
have
Minnesota.
to decide whether or not to shoot into
true.
whiteout conditions.
It's true.
At least he doesn't have a gun. Yeah.
He can just like get. Oh wait, I'm thinking of when he was a cop. He said he helped somebody get their junk off a mailbox or something like that.
That
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was before. this.
That was before the post.
This is a family show, Shanna.
Oh please, whatever.
So Molly and Gus are married now and expecting a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, it's still that means somebody's gonna die soon. I know it.
I don't think they will. I really don't.
It's a good thing she got shot before the baby.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to see this like the scene of
It's
you
very-
know like
yeah.
after all the murder and shootings and terribleness, like they're just being able to sit down and talk about red sauce
Mm-hmm.
for their taco dinner.
It's Margie Salverson.
Yeah, it was just
She-
like
Yep.
like
it
a little
looks very much like Margie.
But then at the
little quiet moment. But then you find out that Molly's not giving up. She's still working on the Lorne Malvo stuff. She's still calling the FBI, trying to get in touch with our two file room buddies. Mm-hmm. We find out are having weird existential discussions about filing.
Weird titular discussions about it.
Oh.
That's true. The heat.
They have the discussion of, if I take a file out of the file room, it's still
Right.
a file room. But at what point?
When I take files.
When you have
out.
negative files.
Right. So that's what the title is about. The
Okay.
the paradox of the heap.
As if
which
you
is,
take all of the
if you
things
have
out
a-
of the thing, is it still the thing?
if you have a heap of sand,
I thought
how
it was
many
a
grains
heap of,
do you remove before it's no longer called a heap of sand or whatever?
yeah, or hay or
Interesting.
something. Yeah.
Right.
Are they saying how many elements of Fargo can change before this is no longer Fargo?
Yes. And if you keep swapping out more and more Fargo for Key and Peele sketch comedy, at what point does it stop being Fargo and turn into
Right.
Key and Peele?
That's a great question.
But I think that's kind of where the Key and Peele characters kind of start to make sense for the series because, you know, they're bantering and back and forth, and before it kind of didn't make sense, but now they're kind of like getting to the point now where they've bantered so much to the point where they don't even know what they're talking about anymore.
Right.
And like they're stuck in this room where they have nothing else to even talk about. It's been a year later, and now all of a sudden they're just talking about just
And then
whatever.
And
the
then
weird thing happens.
Right. He somehow like throws that tennis ball and then still has it in his hand and it knocks the bulletin board off the wall.
And
And there's that picture of Lorne Malvo still hanging
And
up
it
with a...
goes, oh yeah.
Which Shanna pointed
It's
out
like,
to me.
at some point they had to decide to put a picture, like a bulletin
Did
board
we hang
over
that
it.
bulletin board? Was that when we were at JUCO? Just
Yes.
like, nah, it's whatever.
Just put it over it.
Should we take that? No.
I mean, I guess it's
Who has
government.
time?
It's government work, you know. It's like, oh,
That's true. You know what? You just won me over.
There's a thing there. I've got a work order that says this goes here. I don't know.
There you go.
It's going to take
Slap
me
it up.
10 extra minutes of work to think about taking that off the wall, and I don't care. So
We'd have to form a committee to
Right.
talk about taking it off the
we
wall.
have to go back to the meeting and get like, look, there's a picture in the way. Do we need to move the board or just take the picture down? I need guidance.
Also-
I'm not paid enough to make these decisions.
Also, wouldn't that board not bounce as well? Like, wouldn't the ball not bounce as well off the board?
The board did fall off the wall really easily, which does lead credence to the whole
government work.
Government work.
Yeah.
thing,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
But
Government.
yeah, so then we go to kind of just catching up with what everybody else is doing. We got Molly and Gus all happy and preggers. We got Key and Peele trapped in the file room, but yearning for something to right their past wrongs.
Yep. We've got.
And then we've got Lester in Las Vegas winning
Oh,
Salesman of
boy.
the Year with his new wife,
Yeah.
who he
Yeah.
hooked up with like 2 days after he got out of police custody.
Yeah.
Just
And you know,
And you're forgetting.
he's a
like,
weird guy, and he lost a lot of weight. I don't know if that's like Hobbit weight that he was getting into there
Could
between
be.
that
oh,
section.
I didn't even notice.
He was a lot skinnier in that after the time jump.
Yeah.
But then find out apparently Lester's not gotten over his sociopathy skeeviness in the last year.
Well, no, it's helped him get ahead in life.
Right.
He's
I mean-
now
Yeah,
Salesman of the Year
it's an
because
asset.
he's
Right.
Just like every
he
salesman.
realized he doesn't have to play by the rules. That's
realized-
what Malvo.
he doesn't question the universe.
Yeah.
He realized he didn't have a soul, so he's an excellent salesman.
It's true.
Yeah.
I thought the weirdest part of this episode was the story that Bob Odenkirk was telling about trying to
Oh,
find his
yeah.
adoptive.
That was a little strange. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like, what? Where is this going, and how long is this story?
That guy looked like he was 30. Was he really adopted? He's like
I guess.
an adopted.
I know it has
30-year-old.
happened. There was when I was in high school or college. I remember there was some documentary they showed us from some guys who went to like Olathe East that were like Sudanese refugees who were adults that got adopted, or like adult
Okay, I didn't know that
teenagers
was
that
a
got
thing.
adopted.
Very interesting. Is that a moment to make us like Bill Oswald,
I guess,
or
right,
is
he's kind of a dope, but he's also
is it like a
real
universe
earnest.
thing? Like, hey, look how synchronicity can work for you. You know,
I think it's a little bit of all of that.
right.
Yeah.
Kind of suggesting that maybe some pieces are going to fall into place in unlikely ways
Yeah.
very soon. As Lester goes to the hotel bar to try and cheat on his wife,
What
and
a
who
scumbag.
is sitting across the room as he's drinking his blood on the sand?
Ooh, is it
Barack
Stavros Milos?
Yeah, what happened to him?
No, exactly. What happened to him? Well, you say who's actually over there first.
Who's actually over there is now a very silver fox looking Lorne Malvo,
Uh-oh.
who's finally hit his gray threshold all the way.
I
telling
think,
a
yeah.
story, holding court. Everyone's
To Stephen Root, who's
hanging
across
on his
the table.
yeah,
Did
hanging
you
on
see
his
that?
every word. Mm-hmm. And he never turns around. He never looks over
I
at Lester.
expected it.
I
Yeah.
think they were wanting you to.
Yeah.
And that's how the episode actually closes out. We're just zooming in on Billy
back
Bob
of
Thornton's
his
ear.
head.
That was a good ending.
That was a really good ending because, kind of like you were just saying with these synchronicity of the universe, things falling into place.
Yep.
Lorne and Lester together again, and he's got a standing offer out to Mr. Wrench.
You got
I don't know. Some stuff's going to happen in the next 2 hours, I think.
you got you salivating for the next episode.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it was kind of a slow episode in a way because nothing happened on the mystery solving front.
Right. I mean, I think
But-
because the mystery's like well and truly out there now.
Right.
So now we're just doing one more phase of piece setting.
We're just
big
setting up
push.
all the characters to have a lot more to lose.
Right. We're just going to flip the table over in the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's a year later, and it feels like a year later, where all these characters
Yeah.
aren't even probably not even thinking about this anymore.
Right.
except for Molly.
I think they did a
And
really
Key and
really good job
Peele.
establishing the sense of time with that time jump, like changing
Yeah.
things significantly, but also like you can see like Gus becoming a postman because we know that's what he wanted to do, and Lester we saw
Yeah, some
flirting,
good things
flirting
happen.
with his coworker, and now they're married. So you see logical chain of events that's progressed. And it's significantly different enough that it feels like it has been a year.
Some of those stories feel like it's almost like the season finale, like, you know, him becoming a postman, and then, you know, almost like a happily ever after thing, except for it isn't.
Right.
Obviously. But, and then also, at the same time, the stakes are raised because now Molly's pregnant. She doesn't really have a partner, I don't think.
I don't think she's really even like on
Yeah.
active duty. She's just kind of on desk
Yeah.
work right now.
But somebody's got to still solve this case, so now she's pregnant, and she has to do this stuff, this physical, you know, working and actually trying to do all this stuff. So
I
now
got the feeling
the
she's kind of
stakes are
doing that
raised.
like on her own. since
Yeah,
that was
she's
all,
definitely doing that on her own.
Yeah, but it's still like,
She's at home calling the FBI.
yeah.
and they're like getting
The
so
case is
fed
not
up.
open anymore at the
Right.
police department.
We're
as far
busy
as we
with the
know.
Patriot Act. Is that what
Yeah,
they
that
say?
what was
That was
that
a good
line?
line. Patriot Act's got us all real busy right now.
Yeah. But yeah, Mark, you mentioned something about Stavros.
Oh
so
yeah,
we
What
closed the 6th episode with this
Stavros
the
finding his
Devastated
briefcase
in the
is
snow.
still buried, and we have no closure to that. Are we done with Stavros? I feel like we're done with Stavros.
I think so because like his whole point was just to be like a cruel joke for
That's a little too
Lorne.
much.
But yeah, I mean they invested.
No, it's
got to
come back in.
You
Maybe
think?
that's how Lester or Lorne is funding his little Vegas vacation is with
that
Stavros' money.
I think if all of the elements don't come back together
Yeah.
for the downfall of Lorne Malvo in that final episode, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that
one
is
thing
weird.
that I thought was kind of just a thought I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
A thought I was thinking of while watching this episode is kind of just like the trend of bad guy shows recently, like Breaking Bad or Fargo or there's been others that I can't think of off the top of my head. Where
The
it's just,
anti-hero.
right, or not even an anti-hero, just the main character. He's legitimately
He's not an anti-hero.
a bad person.
Yeah.
But like Walter White and Lester for the first half of this show, you still find yourself rooting for them in a way. Like even though you know, like, wait a minute, I'm rooting for this guy to evade
Yeah.
the police for the legitimate crimes he's committed,
The writer's room.
and you're kind of pushing back against the good guys. He's like, oh, I want Lester to get away.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, he beat his wife in the head with a hammer. It's like, why do you find yourself or like Walter White,
Yeah.
pumping out methamphetamine into the streets, and you're like, oh, come on, Walter, you can get away, you can keep this secret.
The writers of Breaking Bad were actually very shocked at how long people were defending his actions.
Yeah,
I think
it was into the 5th season for me, and I was still like, Walter's going to come around. He's going to realize
there was
what he's
one
doing.
moment that it turned for me.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we share that moment with Jesse. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was the moment where I was like,
Oh,
why am I
he's-
rooting for him?
Oh, I think, and part of it that made me think of it because in these last 2 episodes, especially, where you like Lester's gone
There's
all
a-
the way around the horn,
A hard turn
right?
in these 2 episodes.
And I think part of it is because
Yeah.
like Breaking Bad took 6 seasons to do that, where here we've taken 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it feels a lot more abrupt, and just I think
Mm-hmm.
it calls that into stark relief too, and makes you think, wait a minit. I've been kind of
He's
feeling
a bad
feeling
guy.
bad for Lester. I've
Uh-huh.
been kind of pulling for him. Wait, he's
I should-
scum.
yeah.
I think part of the reason why you felt bad for him was because like you could kind of feel that, you know, maybe he knew he did something stupid, like he did
Right.
something rash, like
Right, he was kind of pushed down and
Yeah.
bullied and
I think-
acted
yeah.
out.
And
A
like-
lot of
rashly.
how we feel about Lester just comes from how the universe cosmically rewards him for his actions.
Right.
So when he's down on his luck and everything's going wrong, naturally we feel bad for him, even
Right.
though he's a horrible person.
Right.
But as soon as the universe starts rewarding him for being a bad person,
Right.
that's that distinct
Yeah.
moment that it shifts.
Like his
Yeah.
fortune's working out to get away with this all, so it's got to be. And I think, and part of it too is just that, like narratively, that trend to, just to
one more time.
okay, it's that that tendency to like mentally align yourself with the main character, because you've got to put yourself
Right.
in their shoes to understand the story. To get in there, you have to associate yourself in here. And so since Lester was he's our first guy we met, he's the guy we hung out with at the beginning. you kind of have to put yourself in his viewpoint. Or same with Walter White, where you start, oh, this guy, he's a hardworking guy. He's got bad circumstances. He's just trying to do what's right to help his family. And so you kind of build up that closeness, that alliance with their way of thinking, and then you have to suddenly realize, wait a minute, it's actually maybe easier than you'd think to go down a real dark path.
Right.
Go ahead.
One thing I wanted to mention before we finish talking about this episode is I saw a lot of references to Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah.
I saw Raising Arizona. I saw Barton Fink. I saw No Country for Old Men all throughout this episode. Just clear references. And Fargo, obviously. But it's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Does that have something to do with Fargo? So, like, what I was going to say was basically, like, the reason why we kept pushing for Lester before was that we all have done stupid things, like not that extreme, but like we've all been like, pushed,
you can sympathize,
pushed down, downtrodden, and we went and did something we completely regretted. So we're just like, oh well, I've done something not that bad, but we've done.
Patrick is the sleeper.
Oh God. Oh. I believe it.
The way we all leaned away from Patrick just then was great radio. Carry on.
I feel downtrodden. Hey, JJ, you got a hammer?
This just got real dark.
He's got a big hammer on his back.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
We've all had those moments where it seems like nothing's going our way.
Right.
We did something real stupid, and we immediately regretted it, and we wish we could have gone back and a minute beforehand stopped ourselves from doing that. So that's why we sympathize with that.
I know I've had moments like that where it's like, as you're doing it, you're like, this is the dumbest thing I could possibly be doing right now. This is the worst reaction humanly possible. Yeah. Yet here I am, doubling down.
Also, everyone really hated Pearl. So at first you're like, yeah, she's going to be dead. Oh, no, this is not a good thing.
She actually is dead.
Okay.
So, solid episodes. I think I could not be more excited for the final 2 episodes. What about you guys?
Yeah, it was hard to stop.
I'm going to have to actually watch these like near to the
Yeah, you're going to have to actually watch them?
Like near... No, like watch them like
Stitch.
Watch them closer to our recording so I can remember what's happening.
Right. Yeah, and I think especially for the next few episodes, this time jump was a great move narratively because kind of you sort of played out 2006.
Yeah.
Like there was not a whole lot more to do except for Molly to argue and Lauren to get up to shenanigans and shoot people.
And Gus to get a new job.
Right. I mean, there's not a whole lot more that can be explored there. But now by moving this forward, you've really opened up a lot of unknowns.
Right. In a way, it concludes in a non-committal way all the stuff that's happening in 2006.
Right. Although one of the things I thought was interesting, and I guess, and not even an oversight, but just like we're not even going to mention the fact that Chaz is still in prison. Like they don't even touch that because it's like Lester is not thinking about it.
Right.
He doesn't care. Why should you?
At the same time, it's good that they it's good that they don't try to confuse the audience too much by trying to like talk. Well, he's in prison, obviously. Well, if they were to mention, oh, he's still in prison, it's like, oh, why do I need to know this right now?
Right. It would just be exposition.
Yeah, it'd be like just confuse a lot of people, or at least make it seem too complicated.
Yep.
So
that's it for Showcase, if no one stops me from concluding the segment.
So my favorite thing about it... So I think that
that big burst of sound on
Yep.
that recording. It's going to hurt people. Sorry for everybody.
No, just Gene. He'll edit that. Or Mark, he'll edit
That means it's time
for your mom.
for...
Could it be? Is it? I don't know. It might be.
Bad segment, Bingo?
Stitch.
I think he's having a stroke, actually, guys. He's not doing a bit. He's legitimately in trouble.
His face is really red.
Do you smell
But that's
toast?
not any different from normal.
Burnt toast, you mean?
Oh, no,
Do you
my
taste?
toast.
Do you taste copper?
I'm on the edge of my seat. What is it?
Can you do that face thing?
Bad segment, Bingo.
No. Stitch. Do you not know the order of our segments yet?
No.
Trope time.
Oh.
What's a trope?
A trope is a segment of things.
You know what? I didn't even copy over my whole spiel about what tropes are. And I can't speak off the cuff. It's impossible for me.
It's
I guess you could just edit in the one from last week, and no one will ever know the difference.
it's a recognizable.
I kind of stumble over my words in that one, though.
So
Okay, hold on. I got this.
Do
I
it
got
in post.
So Gene,
I'm not doing it in post.
so Mark, what's a trope?
A trope is like a recognizable plot construct. It's like a theme, a cliche, something of that sort.
So
Like
the
the-
will they, won't they of
Right. It's like a will they, won't they
sitcom.
plot. Like, oh, Ross and Rachel.
The monologuing villain.
It's like the villain who gives away his plot
Right.
when he's captured the hero.
A co-
Or that third example I gave.
Right.
Or just listen to the old episodes.
All right. Tank, what's today's trope?
Well, neighborinos, our trope today is Flanderization. Flanderization in normal person talk. Named after Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. This is where a character in a show starts off as a well-rounded character with, they're a person with some quirks.
Right.
For instance, Ned Flanders. He's Homer's neighbor, and he's really nice. He's a goody two-shoes, and he's kind of, a little overbearing with his niceness sometimes, but otherwise he's just, he's a neighbor.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, and you kind of have to, especially for a long-running series like The Simpsons, and its 25th odd year now, you have to exaggerate traits, and over time, that character becomes nothing but
You
their
don't
cliches.
necessarily have to exaggerate traits, but it's a natural thing
It's
to
the
happen.
tendency for, especially with shows where, more disposable creative teams, where writers
Right.
are cycling out, and people might not understand everything that the character was intended to do. They eventually end up just a mess, a caricature of themselves. Like Ned Flanders now is just a obnoxious, overbearing
Religious nut,
parody of a
yeah.
religious nut.
Instead of just being religious, he's so religious that he will
He's incapable
try to
of,
baptize Homer Simpson's kids and adopt
Right.
them against his will.
I mean, that was early on.
Yeah, that's back when it was still good.
That was season 8.
Yeah.
But yes. I mean, that is an example of it. Or for instance, as Shanna brought up earlier, Lorne Malvo in this episode that we just talked about, going from being kind of this like subtle, conniving trickster, con man, murderer,
Right.
to gunning down 22 people in an office building on an unstoppable superhuman rampage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, a lot of times it's an indication of, kind of like I just brought up, it's lazy writing where,
Yeah.
I don't really
They
know
just
what to
want
have.
escalate them. Yeah.
Or like a great example of both lazy writing and Flanderization would be The Big Bang Theory,
Yes.
where you had
Everything? Like everything about it?
literally everything about this show. But for instance, like Sheldon, the main character, or I guess one of the main characters,
Bazinga.
right? That guy. He says that thing.
He-
He started off the show as he's a very intelligent, somewhat socially aloof person. And as time has gone on, he's become more socially awkward than intelligent, but then his intelligence is like freakish to the nth degree, and he
Yeah.
knows literally everything. And so it just becomes exaggerated to unbelievable, or like Steve Urkel in Family
Yeah, Steve
Matters,
Urkel's a great example.
who started off as an obnoxious kid, and by the end had literally invented a machine that
Or,
rewrote his DNA.
Oh my
Bones
gosh.
from the show Bones
I've never watched Bones,
is
actually.
Yeah.
is it's very similar, where she starts out as kind of she's not socially inept, but she's kind of cold and
Right.
calculating, and then by mid-series she doesn't know how to interact with people in a normal
Right.
way. It's like, this is not the character you started the show with
Right.
at all.
So
But
now this trope wouldn't cover like kind of like what happened with like the second season of Workaholics or Always Sunny, where basically they all kind of have their own individual traits, but they had to keep breaking out those traits to make like a specific episode to make that funny, to the point where they all kind of mash together.
yeah,
And
no, that's Flanderization. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's
like
Always Sunny is
like
very
take
guilty of that.
take Charlie from
Yeah.
It's Always Sunny.
Right.
At first, he's he's not the smartest one in the group, but he's not borderline
Illiterate,
mentally challenged.
Right.
Like-
Or he's not to the point of cutting the brake lines in the car so he can be the wild card.
Exactly.
yeah.
But
Or-
there's an episode in like
I
the
think
third
the-
season where he's making a campaign video, and it becomes we become aware of the fact that he's illiterate, and the writers are like, "Hey, this is playing great. The audience thought this was hilarious. Let's bring this back.
Let's
make him
double
stupid
down.
again."
Yeah.
Or
It's-
like
and it's a natural reaction. It's
I think
like,
one of the classic examples was The Office with Michael Scott, where he started off, he was mostly he was just ignorant. He didn't understand that he was being insensitive. But like
Right.
you'd see him, he's like, oh, he's a good salesman. He's a functional businessman. He's just ignorant of how to behave. And then it got to the point where he drove his car into the lake because the GPS said to.
And that's when I stopped watching.
Right. And that was a big jump the shark moment for a lot of people. That was the moment where it's like, oh, they just don't know what to do with this character anymore to make it.
Same thing with Dwight.
Right.
Believe like the stuff he literally will believe in some of the later seasons is
Right.
completely unrealistic. But
Yeah.
it's kind of a natural thing to happen because the writers are seeing what people react to positively
Right.
and thinking we should do more of that. That's a natural temptation.
And sometimes a big cause of it can be a creative change to like Community in the 4th season. They had a lot of really bad Flanderization because creative Dan Harmon got fired, creative staff changed up, and so you had all these new showrunners and a lot more heavy hand from NBC.
Yeah.
And so I'd like Pierce, the thing that actually led to Chevy Chase leaving the show. His character went from being sort of this like absent-mindedly racist because he's old to now he's just actively horribly racist.
That's true.
Or like Britta went from being kind of a little bit of a ditz, a little bit of a she was just overly eager about the things she believed in to now she's a moron who's incapable.
Britta is definitely a great example of
Yeah.
really bad Flanderization.
She's Britted herself.
because she
She was the straight man in the beginning.
Yeah.
exactly. She was the character we were all supposed to identify with, if not Jeff Winger.
I think that's
But-
always been Abed.
You think so? I guess it's different for everyone. For everyone, there's a
Right.
little okay.
I
But
mean, Abed is Dan Harmon. So
although season 4 did have one of my favorite episodes, the one that was directed by
Oh, Dean Pelton. What's his name?
the one that was directed by Dean Pelton. What's his name? It's not really pertinent to the discussion.
I'm just trying to figure out what was
Is
the
that
episode.
the
The
about.
one where he's pretending that he thinks he's switched bodies with
Jeff.
Jeff.
Oh yeah, that was
Popped
a good
his
one.
shirt off.
Yeah.
The Freaky Friday episode.
Yes.
that was pretty decent. That season had a couple high points.
Yeah.
But going
We
back,
digress.
to Always Sunny, it's kind of like who's the female character, the younger
D.
Waitress.
Like D was originally kind of like the voice of reason,
Exactly.
and then she went off. Now she's just she's
And
just
that
like every.
happened mid season 3, where she stopped being the reasonable one.
Yeah.
And the way that that show works best when there's someone normal they're bouncing off of. So I don't know.
And it's like Family Guy got really bad about that with Brian, because Brian was his whole point was he was
Yeah.
the voice of reason, and then also
everything
now,
about Family Guy has just Flanderized itself to an extreme.
Yeah.
It's a prime example.
Yeah. But in defense of Flanderization, you've got sometimes it's not bad.
Right. Okay.
You've got Tobias from Arrested Development.
Okay.
He definitely
Yeah.
got Flanderized.
Right, where he was
Everybody in
Flanderized on
Arrested
purpose.
Development.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's hilarious.
Right.
Um,
I think that's a big exception to the rule for sure, where it's being used intentionally as a creative device to be like, oh, here's this
Yeah,
guy,
all
here's
those
this guy, he's
characters.
getting
and
weird.
but at the
you
same
can say the same thing for Kramer from Seinfeld. And another great example would be Randy Marsh
right,
from South Park.
all right,
And I
They
love
have they
that.
have directly addressed how Flanderized he's become.
it's true. It's
But-
true.
like with
guys bringing stuff?
with Arrested Development, it always seems like there's always somebody, not always, but most of the time there's always somebody anchoring everyone else down.
Yeah, it's Jason
and that's
Bateman's
why like that can change. It's
And
usually
part of the thing with Arrested Development though is it's such a meta show.
yeah.
Like everybody gets Flanderized. Like Michael was originally the voice of reason, and they find he's just as crazy as everybody else as you
Yeah.
go.
But
Yeah.
then somebody else comes in and
Right.
will anchor him down. That's what
Right.
needs to be an anchor. It needs to be, even if it's somebody you don't like, they need to make a good point. So it's kind of like brings everything else down. So maybe there's hope for these people,
Right.
instead of just having everyone be dumb.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets to the point where you just have to reboot the character.
Right.
Like
Get him hit in the head and
a great. Excuse me,
Bless you.
I'm dying here. A great example of
Oh,
that
Gene, you
would
coughed?
be I did cough,
That happened.
but a great example of that would be Leslie Knope from
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, who in the first season was kind of an inept ditz
right.
who couldn't do anything right.
Became
and
a
then-
more well-rounded character. with
Exactly.
time.
They turned
I think,
her
yeah,
into
that's kind of the opposite of Flanderization. I don't
Like
know if there's a
reverse
trope name for that.
Flanderization,
But that's kind of what you ideally would want to do when you're writing a character is you create
yeah.
a
Make
deep
them
character
more
with,
well-rounded.
right
yeah.
with
Right.
with flaws and quirks and strengths, and you emphasize all of those so that character becomes deeper and more
Yeah.
compelling.
Yeah.
They
I
do
think
that
that's
in
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
they do that in Orange is the New Black. Like, you come into this prison and you're like, all these ladies are ridiculous,
Right.
horrible people. And then you hear a little bit about their backstory. You see them interact with their friends, and you're like, I like that person now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anti-Flander is what you're thinking of.
It's the,
I
that's
think
the
that's-
Flanders from Canada who smokes pot.
Flanders.
It's pretty rare for that to happen, though.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's the sign of really well-disciplined writing.
You've got to
Well-disciplined
have
and
a writer who's on top of it and really is passionate about
and
shepherding their characters.
and maybe not necessarily think their show's going to go on forever, because there's only so long you do that before it's like, oh well, a lot of these people are, they're
That's
starting
true.
to get better. Or
Like, you could say that for Lost, like at first,
Yeah.
when you're getting their first flashbacks, it's kind
The
of fleshing them
island
out.
is
It's
the
like,
biggest
oh,
Flanderization.
yeah. You know what? That's 100% true, and I think we should end the segment with that. So that's it for bad. So that's it.
for a bad trope bingo.
That's it. That's it. There you have it. That's it for Trope Talk.
Trope talk. That's it for talking about some tropes.
And
I need to change my trope.
so you guys want to just not do a bad show bingo since we're already at an hour and 30 minutes?
Yep.
And it's
We can release it
9:15.
separately.
Yeah. So we went a little bit long on this episode
It's some
we
good
had
stuff
a lot
to talk about.
Exactly.
I mean, this is,
Yeah.
Flanderization's a great trope.
It is. It absolutely is.
And those are some.
Well, it's a bad trope, but it's a great one to talk about.
it's a very interesting trope.
Yeah.
So we're gonna skip the bad show bingo. Maybe someday in the future, not this week, but someday in the future, we will release a standalone bad show bingo, just as a little reward if you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're like, I listened all the way
For
through.
our faithful
Right.
subscribers.
Yeah,
Yes.
2 people.
Complain on the message boards if you wanted the bad show me go back.
Please do.
For this
Yeah.
week.
Send Brian hate mail.
Yes.
There you
Yes.
go. Send Brian.
If
hate
you would
mail.
like bad show bingo, send an email to frozennorthpodcast@gmail.com and tell JJ to yell at me, and then I will consider doing it. That's it for the show.
All right.
Anyone else want to say anything, or should we sign off?
Shibbity doo up, shibbity dee. I'm going to call myself Mr. G.
That was very similar to what I was going to say, so I think we're set.
There you have it.
There are some days that look so bright.
There are some lies that seem so dark.
How could you walk against the wind?
How could you stop the earth go round?
You never know which road to take.
One never knows which way goes down.
Will you get back once to the shore?
Are you ready for the fight?
Our intro theme, the Gypsy Song, was made available via Creative Commons by the Freak Fandango Orchestra.
The newspaper ticker theme was made available via Creative Commons Attribution License by Mike Koenig, and the showcase theme, Booga Blue, was made available via the Creative Commons Attribution License by the U.S. Army Blues.